So, hey guys, listen, we're all trying to get more productive. And the question is, how do you find a way to get an edge? I'm a big believer that if you're getting mentoring or you're in an environment that causes growth, a growth-based environment, that you're much more likely to grow and you're going to grow faster. And that's why I love Growth Day. Growth Day is an app that my friend Brendan Burchard has created that I'm a big fan of. Write this down, growthday.com/ed. So if you want to be more productive, by the way, he's asked me, I post videos in there every single Monday that get your day off to the right start. He's got about $5,000, $10,000 worth of courses that are in there that come with the app. Also, some of the top influencers in the world are all posting content in there on a regular basis, like having the Avengers of personal development and business in one app. And I'm honored that he asked me to be a part of it as well and contribute on a weekly basis, and I do. So go over there and get signed up. You're going to get a free, tuition-free voucher to go to an event with Brendan and myself and a bunch of other influencers as well. So you get a free event out of it also. So go to growthday.com/ed. That's growthday.com/ed.
Why do so many people feel overwhelmed when they approach goal setting?
Well, one, I don't think we get our goals long-term. I think we get our standards. We probably get 20, 25% of our goals, but we always eventually get our standards.
I am wallowing in the memory, and that is now becoming this
loop,
like cyclone. As we both know, the brain also can only imagine what you're losing. It can't actually imagine something beyond your wildest possibilities.
I don't need to go get more healthy, more wealthy. Because of my faith, I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. I just got to figure out what I'm doing to interfere with it.
My dad said, hey, listen, suffering's something we choose. He said, Eddie, remember this, please, so you don't have to get sick. You will only understand the power and the blessing of having one more day until you're threatened with never having one again.
What's the premise of the one more philosophy?
Well, the overall premise is that you're much closer to your dreams or your vision for your life than you think you are. And most people don't have a vision issue. They have a depth perception issue, meaning they think things are further away than they are. And so they act in accordance with that belief system, and they keep these ambitions, these dreams, these visions for their life at bay because they think it's so far away. But the truth is not that. The truth is that you're one decision, one relationship, one meeting, one new thought, one new book, one new podcast, one new emotion away from a completely different life, that it's much closer than you believe that it is. And if you can, buy into that philosophy, that I can teach you how to begin to see those relationships, see those thoughts, have those emotions, and change your life. So you're much closer than you think you are. There's a power to doing one more. In other words, people that don't have confidence, why? They have a relationship with themselves, a reputation where they don't keep the promises they make to themselves. People who develop self-confidence, they keep the promises they make to themselves. But then there's a higher standard than that. What if you kept the promises you made to yourself plus one more? I'm going to make 10 contacts today. You do that plus one more. I'm going to do 10 reps in the gym. You do that plus one more. You're going to tell your child you love them today plus one more. Your entire life transforms when you set that higher standard.
So one more phone call, one more meeting, one more page in a book. And because we don't know, like, the wondrous worlds that lie beyond one more. Who is the influence on this one more philosophy?
My dad. My dad was an alcoholic the first 15 years of my life. And I think the reason I believe so deeply that human beings can change is because I watched my hero do it right up close, my father. My dad didn't live a great first 15 years of my life, but the last 35 years of my life and he lived magnificently. And my dad had tried to get sober many times, Jim, as you know. And then there became this time where he was driving me, he was in tears in the car. I never saw my dad cry before. And he said, I'm going to give it one more try to quit drinking. And that one more try changed our family tree forever, brother. I wouldn't be talking to you now if my dad didn't give it one more try. There's a chapter in the book, as you know, called One More Try. And then these one more started to stack up. When my dad got sober, I'd say, Dad, are you never going to drink again the rest of your life? And he would say, I don't know. I'm just not going to drink for one more day. And that served me very well. Businesses I've been in that, my back was up against the wall and I'm thinking about quitting. I've always just said, just don't quit for one more day. And so these one mores in my life were lessons from my dad over and over and over again. And then, like you, I wanted to know, how's this impact the brain? What's the reticular activating system in the brain? How can I find these one mores? All these different strategies that I've come up with. So it's a pretty heavy book on how to do the one mores.
People hear a lot on podcasts or in books about goal setting. And, one of the challenges when people set out to achieve their goals in their career, in their relationships, in their body, in their health, in their bank account, they might feel overwhelmed. Right. And so why do so many people feel overwhelmed when they approach goal setting?
Well, one, I don't think we get our goals long-term. I think we get our standards. So I think we probably get 25% of our goals. Statistically, that's probably bound to be true, but we always eventually get our standards. Eventually you're going to get your standards. So if your standard is just to do the basic, you're going to get a basic life. If your standards to do the one more, you're going to get the one more. And I actually don't think you are overwhelmed. I think that's a notion that you've created in your mind, because what starts to happen is when our results begin to exceed our identity, we start to experience a bunch of emotions that don't serve us, that try to confuse us, try to make us feel overwhelmed, try to make us feel unprepared, not ready for something. And all that is your identity is like a thermostat setting sitting on the wall. I cover this in the book, and it sets the temperature of your life. So if your success identity is set at 75, or happiness, and your results begin to exceed that identity, you get 80, 90, 100 degrees worth of results, you unconsciously turn the air conditioner on of your life and cool it back down to what you believe you're worth. Well, how do you do that? You start feeling overwhelmed. You start creating chaos. You start thinking it's circumstantial. No. I was doing well financially, but then I had to make this loan, or the market changed, or the economy changed. No. You turned the air conditioner on and you started to feel overwhelmed, even though it didn't really exist, because your results exceeded your identity. So the key is raising that identity thermostat in our lives so that we never have those emotions.
I love that. Identity thermostat.
Yes,
and
sir.
that also implies that we take responsibility for where we are, that we are we are changing the environment all the time, right. For something that is for us, or something that could be disabling us also.
Yeah, I feel like what it is our filter. So the environment is set what it is, but we have this filter in our lives, this RAS, as you know, in the brain. I call it the matrix, which I know you know those guys. So this is right up your alley, but I call it the matrix. And the matrix is where you can slow things down. And your reticular activating system in your brain is essentially the place that reveals to you what's most important to you in your life and filters out the things that aren't, so you can be sane. So I just bought a Tesla. I like what Musk is doing. I'm like, let's get a Tesla. So I get this Tesla Plaid. Jim, within a day when I'm driving this thing, I'm seeing Teslas everywhere on the freeway. They're everywhere. White Tesla, honey. Hey, look, red one. 3 lanes over, going the other direction on the highway. I'm like, babe, black Tesla, right? Here's the thing. Those Teslas were always in the environment. What happens is they've been screened into my RAS, so I see them now. So what if, theoretically, our Teslas of our lives become those relationships, those decisions, those meetings that we have to have in order to change our life? In other words, we get programmed in our RAS to see the things in the environment that were always there, hear the things that were always there, but now have become important to us. And that's like the law of attraction explained actually in the brain of how you do it. So it's using the RAS.
Because primarily our brain is deleting everything. It only lets things in. The RAS lets in, it's interesting, our name, when we hear our name.
That's right.
Because that's part of our identity. It lets in threats, because that's part of survival. Opportunities for procreation, because that's also passing on your genes. Right. But yeah, the things that you value and the things that you're asking questions about, and you start seeing those Teslas everywhere. So clearly then the standards are more important than the goals. You talk about in the book this idea of inconvenience and how the importance of embracing inconvenience.
Yeah. So Napoleon Hill says in Think and Grow Rich that on the other side of pain, of difficulty, we're introduced to our other self. So it is literally that the inconvenient things in our lives are the things that introduce us to the other versions of us. And so I have a chapter called One More Inconvenience. If you could begin to build the muscle of chasing, doing hard things, of pursuing the inconvenient, that's where the other self is revealed to. And that other self produces another life. As human beings, our tendency is to avoid pain because we think it's permanent. And the truth is, the only thing that's permanent in our lives, if you believe this, is our souls. Even our bodies aren't permanent. I was with my father, as you know, when he died. I watched my father's body no longer exist in a functioning state anymore. His spirit continued. So this temporary pain you're going through, the truth of the matter is it's temporary. And if you'll survive the inconvenient pain and work through it, on the other side of you is all the things you want in your life. So I've sort of learned to build the muscle. Not always, I make mistakes, but what's the inconvenient thing right now? I'm going to do the inconvenient thing, not the easy thing. The path of least resistance leads to the least happiness, the least bliss, the least benefit to you. The path of most resistance oftentimes is where all the good stuff lies. So chase the inconvenient.
I want to make sure, and I have a couple more questions for you, but where do people get the power one more? Where do you recommend? Or should we?
Anywhere books are sold, but I also have a website called thepowerofonemore.com. And then there's this little thing you and I are doing that's not so little that we should at least mention here.
Not little at all.
It's never been done before, but I'm doing the mother of all events, the granddaddy. That way I covered both genders. And at this event is myself. I'll miss people, but myself is speaking. Jim Kwik is speaking. This guy Kwik, it turns out he's a pretty smart guy. Andy Frisella, Mel Robbins, Maria Menounos, Jenna Kutcher, Marie Forleo, Dean Graziosi, Rob Dyrdek, Eric Thomas, John Gordon, and a few others are all at one event. And if you pre-order my book right now and you go to maxoutlive.com, I'll give you that event for free. You can watch it on a virtual basis in your home or your living room. If you want to come to the event, you got to buy some books, but it's free. It's a gift. All you got to do is pre-order my book. Go to maxoutlive.com and you'll see all of us speak in one place one day for free. It's crazy.
That's so much value. And in the time that we've known each other and our friendship, what I love is that you are the person that you are.
So are you.
Not on camera and on stage, and it means everything. So very congruent. My last couple of questions has to do with this word that I see often in the book, and it's equanimity.
I knew you were going to ask
what?
That.
Yeah. So this is something that I love. Like I tweeted something that was like, what's your favorite word out the other day? I got hundreds of responses. This is one of my favorites. Can you define that? And,
if you looked at a picture of it in the dictionary, it would probably be Jim Kwik. and this is true. And it's why I love you. It's why I wish we had more time together. Equanimity is basically tranquility or peace under duress. Calmness under duress. And this is such a quality of the people that I admire most in my life and of all high performers and of all happy people. Duress, chaos, difficulties are a given in life. So it's not the events of our lives that matter. It's the meaning we attach to it. And that meaning then creates an emotion, and that emotion makes us make a action. If you can learn to seek more equanimity, which is calmness, think about someone you admire. If it's an athlete, right? Tom Brady under center, 50,000 people. It's the playoffs. They're down 6 points. It's the last drive. It's the highest level of chaos and stress you could get. It's his ability to find equanimity, which is calmness and peace under duress, so that things slow down and they don't speed up. I have a fighter that I work with that I love named Michael Chandler. He just fought last week, and I know you know who Michael is. And typically a lot of times, Mike, when he's been in these fights, when it starts to get really riled up, he speeds things up and he gets all wound up, and it doesn't serve him. This week when he had the fight, it happened. He got punched. He was really hurt, and he stepped back and found equanimity and calmness under duress. And he ended up knocking this guy out and winning the fight in a really dramatic way. And so equanimity basically means finding peace and calm under a stressful situation and condition. And it's the one thing emotionally. The people that I admire the most have the ability to maintain emotional maturity and emotional control in their lives. And the people that are just sort of average and ordinary, that when everything's okay, they have emotional control. But when stress level gets elevated, when an importance level, the important meeting, the important phone call, the higher the importance level, the less equanimity they experience. And so in the book, I talk and teach how to have more of equanimity under duress.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the book. I recommend everyone gets their copy. I recommend you get 3 copies of Ed's book. You have one for yourself and get 2 to gift to others. And I'll actually gift 2 of my copies to some random people who are listening. I challenge everybody to take a screenshot of this episode. If you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, on YouTube, take a screenshot. Make sure you tag Ed, tag myself, and repost some of our favorites. And, equanimity is actually, this principle is through all the ancient wisdoms, from Taoism to Stoicism, it's represented there. So it's so very important. So for more detail on this, you have to read the book, because the book is, you're an amazing storyteller, and there's some real practical, powerful, proven things that people could do. I have a question for you that's kind of off script. You're very public. You have a huge following, millions of people. You do these big events, huge podcast and brand, very successful. Is there something that people seem to maybe misunderstand about you? It's kind of a left field kind of question, but is there, and there might not be an answer, but.
No, there certainly is. And I think you probably experienced a little bit when you're around me. I probably struggle with confidence more than most people would think that I do. And so even at this age of my life, I've got a pretty deep voice. I've got kind of a hard look to me. I teach all these things about being confident and all those things. But The truth is I have to keep that guy at bay. I'm very introverted like you are. We're both very quiet people privately. Public things aren't easy for you or I. And I struggle with still at this stage in my life, believing I belong, not having imposter syndrome. No matter what level of external success I've had, that has not changed this child of an alcoholic that grew up in chaos and grew up in stress and would go to school every day thinking, why is my family this way? What's wrong with me? Why can't my dad be like their dad? And none of my friends wanted to come over to our house because it was so stressful. And I ended up with a wonderful, beautiful dad. But so there's that little dude in me still, man, all those beliefs that are installed in you when you're a child and you're defenseless about who you are and what your role is in the world. And it's why I'm in this space. I'm one of the few people I think that's like, hey, you're on my Instagram. I'll tell you, I'm having a bad day, guys. I'm struggling with this today. I'm hurting today because I don't want to be perfect. I want to be aspirational where people aspire to be like me, meaning that, hey, this guy's working on himself too. And so maybe that would surprise some people if they see, jets and islands and houses and ocean fronts and, great friends and all that. But I'm just a man who was once a little boy who is just trying to get better and feel better about himself and help other people. And it's when I'm doing something like this, brother, with someone I love and I know we're serving people and my intent is there, that I have the most confidence because I know I intend to serve. So that's probably something most people wouldn't know.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Everybody, get your copy of The Power of One More, and please join us for this amazing event. And the message here is really, as Ed has said, you are much closer to the life that you dream of than you think you are. He says in the book that you're often just one more meeting, one more relationship, one more decision, one more action, one more thought, away from leading the life that you desire and that you really deserve. So,
amen.
Ed, buddy, thank you so much for being on our show.
Brother, what an honor. So great to be with you. Thank you.
Until next time, make sure you subscribe. We'll put all the links to Ed's book and more in our show notes, and also to where he interviewed me. We'll put all the links to all the things we mentioned at jimkwik.com/notes. And until then, make sure you max out, as Ed would say, and be limitless, everybody.
Whenever I interview someone, I always read their book. I do my best to read it cover to cover. I research them. I watch other interviews, listen to interviews that others have asked to make sure that this one is unique. However, I watched the entire hour and 40-minute interview that Jamie Kern Lima, she wrote a book called Believe It, a fabulously successful entrepreneur in her own right, when she interviewed you. And she teed up a story that I think is so remarkable. I'm going to have you repeat it on this podcast. And it really was this idea about being seen. It's about how each of us as leaders, as parents, as friends, as entrepreneurs, we have the power to help others believe in themselves and be seen. You share the story, I think about maybe, was it your first grade teacher? Would you take a few moments and just recap this story? Because I've thought about it multiple times since I listened to your interview with Jamie Kern Lima, and I think it's worth repeating on our podcast.
It's a hard story for me, brother. You're going right to it. So yes, my first grade teacher was Mrs. Smith. And, most things in leadership are caught, not taught. You catch it. And I caught something this day from this beautiful soul. Mrs. Smith knew that I came from a broken family, and she knew that I was being teased at school. I was Eddie Spaghetti. I would get bullied at school. She could see the stress on me every morning. And I didn't know this in first grade, but now as a grown man looking back, I know. And she knew I had no self-esteem. She knew that I didn't think I was very smart. I didn't think I had any valuable. I was invisible. When you come from a family like that, brother, every morning you walk out of your home, you're ashamed. Why don't my friends not want to come over? Because my dad's yelling all the time. Why can't I come from what I thought was a normal family? And so I would carry that every day in school. And I was this little boy that was just sad and had no self-belief whatsoever. I felt completely invisible and worthless. And she set up this scenario, bro, where we had to take tests for the state. And she set this all up. I didn't know it. And she had this other teacher come in the room, it was actually the vice principal, come in the room and say, Mrs. Smith, I need your smartest student. I need the brightest person you have in here because this student's going to represent this whole class as the leader and take these tests for us. And I need you to pick them. And I didn't know this, but she had set all that up. And she goes, oh, well, that's little Eddie. And I looked up and I went, me? And she goes, And she kind of mouthed, "It's little Eddie." And all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, man, someone saw me. Someone told me I was special. Someone said something great about me. And that little boy got up, me, and I walked to the back of that class, and I think I was walking on clouds. And it changed my life because it was the first time ever that someone said, "I see you. You matter. You're special. You're important." What she was really saying is, "I love you. I care about you. I believe in you." And it changed my life. And to this day, I owe so much of my life to Mrs. Smith, because so many people, man, are going through this world right now, not feeling seen, feeling invisible, feeling worthless, feeling like I'm just average or below average, and who cares? And she changed my life in that moment. I am almost incapable of telling that story without crying, because my whole life, no one ever made me feel that way. And I remember that day thinking, I would love to make, sorry, I get choked up now. I would love to make other people feel the way she's making me feel right now. And it changed my life, because after that day, I thought, well, maybe I'm not stupid. Maybe I do have value. And I didn't believe it all the time, but all of a sudden I said, maybe. And it opened my life up to the possibility that maybe I could do something great in my life. Maybe I was special. Maybe I had value. Without that day and without Mrs. Smith, I am not talking to you right now for sure. And I think most people undervalue their ability to impact another human being's life. They don't understand that one decision, one gesture, one thought, one emotion can change another person's life. And Mrs. Smith definitely did that. And that's why I'm sitting here. She is one of those people in my life for sure, and probably the main person.
Ed, your vulnerability is a gift you're giving to all of us. When I read this passage and heard the story on your interview with Jamie Kern-Lima, I thought about the first time my father told me he was proud of me. I was 32 years old. I was at the Minneapolis airport. I was boarding a plane from the funeral of his mother, my grandmother. And my father put his arm on my shoulder as I was getting in a cab. And he said, "Son, I'm proud of you." I was 32. Unlike you, I did not come from a broken home. I came from a very stable middle-class environment. But I think my father's dad died when he was 10, didn't have a role model there. My mom's parents were alcoholics, and so they didn't know how to parent.
Yep.
But as I listened to your story and I hear you talk about this, all of us as leaders, whether we're formal or informal leaders in companies, we also have the power to help people be seen, not artificially, but to validate in them their worth. You're a leader of a large company. You've hired and trained and onboarded and terminated thousands of people in your career, many companies you own. Speak to the thousands of people who are listening and watching, millions, that are in fact leaders of people, whether they are parents or formal leaders. What are some things they can do today to make sure those in their purview feel seen?
Seriously get to know their gifts. So each human being comes with them a set of giftedness that they know to be true about themselves, by the way. There's 2 or 3 or 4 of them. It could be their kindness, their intellect, their humor, their beauty, their resiliency, their vision. There's all kinds of gifts, their patience. And if you end up pointing out those gifts to somebody in their life and you say, "Look, I see you." By the way, it's one thing to go, "You're going to do great. You're awesome. You're incredible." That just floats by somebody. But if you say, "You're going to do incredible because," and then you tell me something about me that I know to be true. You know why, Ed? You know why you're going to be incredible here? Not because you're the smartest guy in the world, even though you're a bright guy. Because you love your family so much, man. You will fight for your family. You will do anything for your family. And I'll go, "Whoa, that is true about me." Or you know why you're going to do very well here, Lisa? Because you care so deeply. You've got this heart to serve people. Your intentions are so good. That's why. So it's when you link what you'd like them to do to the gift they have that they already believe to be true about them. Now you got it. Now you're leading. Now you're changing them. And by the way, you will be on this many. I'm showing one hand up. You will be one of 1 to 5 people in their entire life that made them feel this way. You're 32 years old, and how much that stood out from your dad. And if I said to you, who are the 2 or 3 people in your life, Scott, that have really believed in you? There's not 30. If you're lucky, there's 2 or 3. For me, it's Mrs. Smith, right? A couple coaches I've had. And these are the people that I cherish in my life because they found something in me. If you're a person of faith, they found God in you. They found the gift in you. And so this is what great leaders do. They take the time, even if it's in brief, to say, "Well, I see this special in you. You're special because That makes me feel seen. Not you're awesome, you're incredible, thanks for being here, grateful for you. Nah, that's nothing. I see you. And let me tell you what I see. I see X, Y, and Z. And then they go, now they will never leave you. They will be loyal forever. They will be talking about you on podcasts 20 and 30 years later, like I am with Mrs. Smith, 45 years later. That's how deeply a leader can impact someone's life when they see the giftedness in them.
Ed, next time, can you bring some passion and energy?
You mentioned something called becoming an impossibility thinker and a possibility achiever.
Yep.
And so many people that I see are self-sabotaging because they're not viewing it through that lens. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm typing this great note down. Here's the thing. Here's the governor that you put on yourself if you're someone who is not an impossibility thinker. Being an impossibility thinker is really simple. It's being willing to envision things you're ill prepared to do. Yeah. See, the people that I know that I think have achieved this level of success, they have a lower threshold for what they need to know about something in order to imagine it and believe it's possible. So unsuccessful people have a very high threshold of what they have to know or what they have to have everything in place. And so they won't step into the unknown. I used to coach a race car driver. I won't say his name because I had an NDA with it, but a very successful NASCAR driver. And he told me, he goes, Ed, the most difficult thing in racing is not the normal race. It's when there's a crash in front of you. And when there's this crash in front of you, he goes, I want you to imagine you're going 180 to 200 miles an hour and all there is a cloud of smoke. That's all you see. And you have to drive into that cloud of smoke, not knowing that on the other side, there may be a stalled car, but you're going to hit head on and kill yourself. And he said, it's your ability to drive through that fog, drive through that unknown, drive through that smoke that separates you from other drivers. What most guys do is they start looking at the wall and they veer towards it. And he said, my ability to drive through that crash smoke, even though I don't know what's on the other side of it, is what separates me from other guys. And man, that's so true in business and life too. Successful people are willing to drive through the smoke, not knowing what's on the other side, but believing I'll be resilient enough when I get in the room to figure it out. Unsuccessful people or people who are not successful yet go, I'll drive once I know. I'll go once the conditions, once my kids are growing, once I have this much, once I read one more book, once I do one more, once I get, and then the threshold keeps getting higher and higher and higher, and they never take action. That's a big separator. In order to achieve the impossible, you have to be willing to imagine it and actually allow your brain to go there, knowing you don't have all the information. I have a podcast. It's probably the most successful business podcast, weekly podcast on the planet, entrepreneurship. Man, I started out, I didn't even know how to order the microphone. The first one I did, I didn't record it. I forgot to record it, right? Like my son was the editor. He was 16, but I was willing to get into the space, not knowing everything. I didn't know who the guest was going to be. Man, I didn't even know how you posted it once you recorded it. I remember Tony Robbins was like, hey, man, you put that thing on the chip? I'm like, chip? He goes, in the recording device, dude, you have to have a microchip in there to record the show. And I'm like, shit, I didn't know that. I thought you just pressed record. He goes, what did you think you were recording it on? I'm like, the machine.
Oh, my gosh.
So what if I would have thought about all I didn't know? I wouldn't have the number one show in the world. Yeah. So you got to start to drive through the smoke.
Yeah, no, gosh, that's so good. I was just thinking too, one of the things that you mentioned in the book is that goals are energy. I've never heard somebody actually phrase it that way. Yeah. There's lots of things on goal setting, make SMART goals. Let's do this. But then you said goals are energy. And I got to thinking about it. I'm like, anything that I intentionally went after with my full heart, with my full self, always manifested in some way, shape, or form. May not look exactly like I thought it was going to look.
Or when you thought it would happen either.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Talk to me about goals and energy, because I had never heard someone actually say it that way before.
Well, goal is a thought. And a thought creates a space that didn't exist before you have it. And I'm not going to get really quantum on you, but it actually creates an energy field that didn't exist before you had it. So when you have a goal, it creates an energy around it. That goal now has a vibrational frequency. And the more you feed it and the more it vibrates faster, and you start to feed it and feed it and feed it, its energy level can get up to a point where it achieves itself.
Yeah.
And most people don't look at it that way, but that's exactly how it is. I'm a Christian. You are as well. But I also believe there's an energy field that just the Almighty created. Yep. And so I believe goals have energy to them. Now, having said that, I don't think you get all your goals. And I say it in the book. I think you always get your standards, though. And that's why the next chapter is on standards. Goals without standards are empty. What I really focus on is what my standards are that can help deliver on the goals that I have. So the goal creates the energy. The standard creates the delivery mechanism.
Jeez. Can I be transparent with you about something?
Please.
So as a Christian, I've been on the fence for probably 24 months, right? Because I'm meaning not with my faith, but with elements of how quantum and energy and stuff relate to my faith. I discovered Dispenza's work, a couple of years ago, probably when everybody else really started to, and I started to kind of go through some of his work. And it wasn't until you at Max Out Live, where you actually stepped in front of everybody and said, look, I believe in Jesus, but I also believe in energy. And I believe this resonance and this vibration is real, that I actually felt okay.
Yeah.
Because I've been carrying that with me for so long, not sure. Because, you go to a traditional pastor kind of scenario and not everybody kind of gets it. Yep. And then if you go too far new age, and then you kind of start losing a little bit of your faith. I've been walking this tightrope forever. Yeah,
me too, brother. The new age is like your God, and I don't buy that at all. Yeah, I know me really well. By the way, no one's ever said that to me before, ever. And I have too. In fact, the chapter I wrote on faith and energy took longer than the rest of the book combined. And I really struggle with it because I wanted to honor my faith at the same time, be honest about it. Listen, this interview is going well. Why? There's an energy frequency happening here. Yeah. You always know when you're in a space. God gave you this energy. God gave you discernment. Discernment is energy. Talks about it in the Bible. Doesn't call it energy, calls it discernment. But what discernment is you're sensing energy. Discernment tells you this person, you ever meet somebody, you're like, nah, I don't feel it.
Absolutely.
Right. What's that come from? That's discernment, which is energy. So you're already proving that there's an energy field. Or you've been other people like, man, I can't explain it. Man, I like this dude. I like her. Right. There's an energy frequency. So to deny that is ridiculous. Also, highest energy wins. People that make us feel good. Yeah. What is a feeling? It's an energy. Right. It's an energy. So everything is energy. We're always feeling energy. Highest energy wins. I'm trying to transfer energy when I speak. So to deny its existence is insane. In fact, take churches. A good church that's on fire for the body of Christ has an energy that's infectious and people are excited. Why do you want to bring people to church? Because the energy, the feeling, right? We do something special here. So actually, I think great pastors understand energy. And I will say this to you. I struggle with it as well because I as a devout man of God, as a Christian, I always worry I'm sounding new agey.
Me too.
Right. When I'm like, you can tap into this field. And so I always am reluctant, but I've come to the conclusion that all of the beautiful things in life that have served me have come from the Almighty, have come from God.
Yep.
And I know energy exists.
Yeah.
I think success has an energy. I think failure has an energy. I think slumps have an energy. We all know this. As I say it, you're all nodding. So to deny its existence is crazy. Having said all of that, I believe that energy is spirit.
Yeah.
And when I speak, people go, man, when you speak, sometimes I'm like, hey, man, that's not always me. That's the Holy Spirit. And I'm not sure how to put it all together quite yet, but I'm not so sure that the Holy Spirit doesn't have something to do with energy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think we'll, guys like you and I that talk openly about this stuff, maybe we'll find better ways to phrase it.
Yeah.
But we certainly feel it. We certainly know it. I don't believe the fact that you buy into energy discounts the fact that you have a Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
And I think the notion of it's crazy. Does that mean you're not going to get criticism for people that think any word like that's blasphemous? Yeah, but I've just decided that's okay. I'm not religious. I have a relationship with God. It's my relationship with Jesus, right? Yep. And sometimes it's roaring and doing great. And sometimes I'm like, Lord, why are you doing this? Yeah. Why are you? My dad died. What's going on here? I was at Chalk Hospital this week with kids that are, one of the little boys has leukemia. You don't think for a minute, I went, Lord, come on, man. Yeah. Let's get this, but I understand there's a higher purpose. I understand there's a calling. I understand there's an energy to it. So, man, I really appreciate you're transparent about that. It's probably the most difficult thing I've struggled with in my life too. They're the one. The second chapter of the book's called The Matrix. And the reason it's the Matrix is about the RAS, but also in the Matrix, Neo, they call him the one. See, when you see a really happy family or a successful family or both, if you go all the way back in their lineage, at one point they weren't. They weren't.
It's true.
And then the one shows up. The one arises in that family and stands up and goes, the world's not treating my family like this anymore. The Myletts are rising up. We think different. We operate different in the world. And the one changes that family forever. And it's typically a lot closer than you think. My dad did say this to me. He'd go, Eddie, and this is the whole premise of the book. He'd go, I don't know about that beach house stuff, how you get there, but here's what I do know. It's closer to you than you think it is. And he goes, Eddie, please don't spend your life thinking that's 100 years away. Because if you think like that, you will act in accordance with that belief and you will perpetually keep your dreams that far away from you. And he said, I think it's one decision away, one relationship away, one meeting away, one thought, one emotion away. You can change your life. And he goes, look at me. That one decision to get sober completely changed my life. So and I've always believed this, Mel, because I believed it. It's been true. I'm one decision away. I'm one meeting away. I'm one this away. I'm one relationship away. And I'm a stacking of those one mores in my life. The truth is, the difference between winning and losing in life is sometimes so small, it's almost too scary to talk about. And it's one new thought like, hey, I'm going to give myself a high five every morning. That one new thought can change your life. It's one decision. It's one dinner I walk into and I meet Mel Robbins at a dinner table with some other folks that I know. That changed my life. My life got better in that instance. And so if you begin to believe this, then the question becomes, how do we find these one mores? What are the things we need to know in our mind to get them? What are the things we need? What
are they? Like, because I'm like, yeah. Like, what are they?
Well, there's a lot and they're in the book. But one of them, for example, is the RAS, which is the filter that sort of reveals what's most important to you in your life. And so you know exactly how it works. But for the benefit of everybody else, it keeps you sane. It's why you don't feel the blood rushing through your right ear right now. It's why when you walk in a crowded room and there's all this noise, but someone says, Mel, not even loud, you can hear auditorily over all the noise what's important to you, which is your own name. It's like for me right now, I just bought a Tesla. I don't know if Musk is buying Twitter or not.
You bought a Tesla? I don't see that.
I did it because I like this dude's just disturbing stuff. I have no idea whether he's a good guy or not. This guy's just rocking out a little bit. I'm like, give me
which Tesla did you buy?
I bought the Plaid. I bought the good one.
What's that? I don't even know what that is. Because my daughter was I was bitching about the fact that I now have to drive back and forth between Vermont and Boston.
Yeah,
as if it's a problem. And she's like, why don't you get a Tesla and let the car drive you? And I was like,
I like it. And I'm going to tell you the other thing I like.
Is this the thing with the wings?
I don't know. Well, the doors open that way, but what it does do is that you can hit the mode and it'll drive for you. But I don't trust it. But what I do have that I like is I have this mode on the car that it'll not let you hit a car, even when you're driving. So like if you're stupid and you're not going to brake, it brakes. If you're drifted into the wrong lane, which I do all the time, it goes.
I'm not surprised by that, by the way.
I know. And I
can't wait for the call that you're going to have where you call me and you're like, Mel, you know that boat I bought in Miami? I just ran it up on some rocks in Maine.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. That's actually way more likely than you might think.
I know.
It's extremely possible. If you, oh my gosh, you saw me drive a boat. You see me drive. Well, I'm not going to comment. It's probably possible. I need the Tesla thing on the boat is what I need. But I bought this Tesla, right? It's crazy. It's driving my wife nuts. I'm like, babe, red Tesla, white Tesla. There's another white Tesla. 3 lanes over the other side of the freeway, going the other direction. I go, honey, there's a black Tesla. She's like, what is wrong with you? And
it's the RAS.
It's the RAS. I said, these Teslas were always there. But
our daughter, dude, this just happened to us. I'll give you a different car that is not a Tesla. So a used Subaru Crosstrek. A Toyota RAV4. Our daughter's shopping for her first car, and now she's like, everybody drives one of these things. I'm like, no, they don't. They don't. There. Yes.
It looks like it, right? And that's because it's part of my RAS. Here's how life works. You already know this. If you can program your matrix, your RAS, that the Teslas of your life become these meetings, these decisions, these people, these relationships, these thoughts, these emotions, you got it. And what I'm here to tell you is that these things have always been around you, but you're oblivious to them because what's in your RAS are your fears, your anxieties, your worries, your to-do list, your problems. What's right in front of you, you see. And so you validate it and prove it to be true.
So do you have an exercise that you recommend for people that are so mired?
Yes.
In the negative, like it's not going to work out. This is going to be awful. It never worked. Like, what is an exercise that you would tell somebody to do so that they can start to reprogram that way of thinking?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in daydreaming, lucid daydreams. And so
what does lucid daydreams mean?
Yeah, what lucid daydreams means very clear, very specific, and repetitive. The big one is repetitive. So here's what you already do. Your mind moves towards what it's most familiar with. We all know this, or maybe most people don't know this, but it moves towards what it's most familiar with. Okay. And I have a chapter in the book where I say, become an impossibility thinker and a possibility achiever. So I'm going to combine 2 things and I'll give you the technique.
Okay.
99% of the people in the world operate out of a frame of reference, a pattern of thinking that is history and memory. 1% of the people operate out of imagination and vision. This is a different frame of reference. That's why my friends, it's very difficult when I'm around most of my friends to go, remember when? You guys remember that? My friends almost never do that. If you surround yourself with people where you're reminiscing most of the time, not only do you operate out of memory and history, but you're reinforcing it with the conversations you have with people. When you and I are talking, we're flying back with Jamie Kern-Lima. There was no reminiscing. We're talking about the future and we're operating in the present. This is a different pattern of thinking, and it must be worked on. And so why are we happier when we're kids? I have two philosophies. One, I think you were just more recently with God. And two, you operate out of imagination because you have no history and memory. But by the time you're about 10 years old, you begin to slowly operate out of history and memory, oftentimes the history and memory of the emotions of your parents. Did you guys lose me?
No, I'm thinking because this is super, super helpful to me right now. And it's super helpful to me right now because Chris and I just sold our family home where we raised our kids for 24 years. And I've lived there almost half my life. My parents have never sold the house I grew up in. My grandfather was born on the family farm that my mother was. This has never been modeled for me.
Wow.
And so I was not prepared for the avalanche of grief and panic and uncertainty that happened when all of a sudden in 24 hours the house sold. And I have spent the last 3 weeks in an up and down emotional breakdown around, like, literally, when you said reminiscing, something snapped for me, Ed. Good. Because I was like, oh, shoot, I am wallowing in the memory. And that is now becoming this loop, like cyclone. Of sadness and regret, and maybe we shouldn't have sold it, and maybe this was too soon, and maybe we weren't ready, that has blocked my ability at times the last 2 weeks to even remember why we were all so excited and now is the time. And so it's the reflecting back and then allowing myself to stay there that has made the kind of grief that's normal with a transition that big really weigh me down. And so you just broke something open. Good. And gave me, I think, the keys to really connect back into what you and I both do so well, which is staying inside the imagining of where is this going and why are we doing this and what's possible? Because as we both know, the brain also can only imagine what you're losing. It can't actually imagine something beyond your wildest possibilities. And so I got to get back the fuck into the imagination piece of this versus the memory and reminiscing and all that stuff.
Yes. And I love that helped you. And what we do when we're reminiscing or we're going down that pattern is we're flashing in our mind pictures and videos of other times. We actually see them and it creates this emotion in us. And so this is not complicated. The most successful people are the people in life that can get very clear in their vision and their imagination repetitively. Like when I work with top athletes, Mel, one of the things that, and by the way, there's really simple visualizations in the book that you just do very simply and you do it repetitively. And then I teach you, like, slow it down. Now speed it up. All it's doing is forcing you to focus on it. Add color to it. Make it black and white. It's very easy and it'll change your life. But when I work with pro athletes, I'll give you an example. I work with a fighter who won last weekend in the UFC. And what he does when things get really fast, when he gets hit in fights, he speeds things up and awfully goes into brawl mode. And what happens is it's when he's lost a couple fights. He had lost his last 2 fights. And I have a chapter in the book called Equanimity, one more level of equanimity. When you were visualizing in your RES, things will begin to slow down like in the Matrix and bullet time. And in this particular fight, Mel, what was incredible is he was getting hit and he started to speed up and you watch him consciously. I'm ringing in his ears. He steps back and he slows down and finds that equanimity. And he ended up knocking this guy out with a leg kick, Mel, that knocked the man out. I don't like this stuff, for 4 minutes out on the mat. It's one of the most devastating knockouts in the history of fighting. And afterwards, he gets interviewed and he goes, I don't know what happened. I've never practiced that leg kick before in person, only in my visions and imagination. And he executed it to save his career, to win the fight. And so this is something you can do over and over again. One more thing on this visualization. We think we visualize well. But the more we practice it, it's a muscle. So when I work with like a B-level baseball player, I'll say, hey, let's visualize the pitch coming in. They'll go, I got it. I saw it. I said, where'd you hit it? They go, up the middle. I go, okay, good. Where's the camera? They go, huh? I go, where's the camera? Is it over the center field camera shooting over the pitcher like you watched it on television? Or is it from the batter's box and you're watching the view out? Inevitably, average players will go, I don't know. And I go, then you weren't really visualizing. Let's find the camera. They go, okay, it's from the batter's box. I go, great. Can you see the rotation on the ball? Is the pitcher left or right-handed? Can you see the stitches on the ball as it comes in? And I make them start to see it more clearly. And then I'll say, can you see the ball hitting the bat? No. Well, let's work on that. Have the bat hit the ball. Do you see the stitches now rotating the other way back out? My point is that I'm getting them to visualize with specificity. But when I work with an all-star player, they do this naturally. The difference in their athletic ability is their ability to repetitively, specifically visualize. And this is not complicated stuff. I even know when I say it, you already do it. Some of you with your fears and your worries, you're really good at this. You can visualize it with clarity and you can make it bigger and bolder. You can change it to black and white to make you really sad about it. You can slow it down. You can add sounds. So you already do this well.
How do you interrupt that? So if you are in that negative visibility loop, right? Where I immediately, my visualization was, oh my God, we just sold the container that has held our family together for 24 years. Now that that's gone, I'm never going to see my kids.
Yep. Yeah.
How do you interrupt?
You interrupt. You know what it is. It's a pattern interrupt. It's a pattern interrupt. Okay. And so I have this on how to create habits in the book. I teach you actually how to create a habit. It's a pattern interrupt. And so we'll just be real here. For me, it's usually a physical move. I'll move myself. I'll snap my fingers. I'll do a jumping. You may think this is nuts. For me, a physical move will snap me out of a thought pattern. That's for me. For some people, it's an auditory thing. And this is so funny. I have someone that I coach right now, and I sneezed on one of our first calls. And this person goes into negative thought loops, Mel, like you can't believe. Most people say, God bless you, right? Or excuse you or whatever. This person was old school, except she's young, and she goes, Gesundheit. And I go, what the fuck did you say? She goes, Gesundheit. I go, I haven't heard that since my grandfather in like 1977. And so with her, we laughed about it. It was a belly laugh. That word then became a trigger for laughter. And so her way out of her negative thought patterns, this sounds so stupid. She goes, Gesundheit, Gesundheit. And she throws her arms back and we make a laugh out of it. And what happens is it doesn't put her into the good loop. It interrupts the negative one.
Right.
It's an auditory, funny one. For a lot of people, it's a physical move. It's a snap of the fingers. It's a grab of the ear. And this is not complicated stuff. You ever watch an athlete, when they get into the batter's box, a baseball player, they'll tap the plate 2 times, adjust their batting gloves. Tom Brady gets over the center. Let's fucking go. Peyton Manning used to say, Omaha. These were plays, but they were also triggers.
And they were cues.
They were cues. Yes. And so it could be a physical, you and I both, by the way,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. The 5-second rule is a pattern interrupter. Yep.
You got it. So that's the best one, but that's
well, what I don't use that crap that I, teach.
Stop it.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, when I am in a death spiral, I'm wallowing.
Sometimes it's a physical move for me.
Yeah, I think a physical move's a good one. A snap of the fingers. I like that a lot.
Okay, there you go.
I like that a lot. That's good.
Thank you.
What do people not know about you?
So I'm super fired up. We're creating a bunch of content and doing podcasts today. Guess what I had right before I walked in here? I drank my AG1. I do it before every single show. In fact, I actually do it every single day. I even take it on the road with me when I travel. I would not go a day in my life without my AG1s. It's a habit that actually sticks because you feel the difference. And what I can tell you, most of the benefits for me, my body feels calm, yet I have high energy. It's been great immune support for me as well, and digestion. When it comes to my health, I want something I can trust, and that's why I choose AG1. It's science-backed ingredients, real benefits that I can feel, and it makes it really easy and affordable to get into your body as well. AG1 is now offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 travel packs in your first box. So make sure you check out drinkag1.com/Ed Mylett to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/Ed Mylett to start your new year on a healthier note. The Range Rover Sport blends power, poise, and performance with a design that's distinctly British. Free from unnecessary details, raw power and agility shine in the Range Rover Sport. To truly make an impact, you need to take the lead. You need to adapt to whatever comes your way, and when you're that driven, you drive an equally determined vehicle. The Range Rover Sport. Like you, it was designed to make an impact. The Range Rover Sport combines a dynamic sporting personality, elegance, and agility to deliver a truly distinctive drive. The assertive stance of the Range Rover Sport hints at its equally refined driving performance, defining true modern luxury. The Range Rover Sport includes the latest innovations in comfort and convenience. Use the cabin air purification system alongside active noise cancellation for all new levels of quality, comfort, and control. A force inside and out, Range Rover Sport was created with a choice of powerful engines, including a plug-in hybrid with an estimated range of 53 miles. Build your Range Rover Sport at rangerover.com/US/sport. The man who shaped U.S. monetary policy just released a bombshell book called Our Dollar, Your Problem. In it, former IMF chief economist Kenneth Rogoff warns the U.S. dollar's dominance is under attack, and if the U.S. dollar falls, your savings could be at risk. That's why Advantage Gold is giving away a free copy of Rogoff's book to anyone who schedules a one-on-one precious metals appointment. Text WIN to 85545. You'll discover why gold is becoming the number one hedge against a global currency shift and how to move your IRA or 401k into physical gold. Tax and penalty free. And how to get up to $10,000 in free gold and silver with a qualifying account. Get your free copy today while supplies last. Text WIN to 85545. That's WIN 85545, or go to AdvantageGold.com. That's AdvantageGold.com. Data and message rates apply. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
You're one decision away from completely changing your life. One new recruit, one new relationship, one new thought, one speaker away from totally changing your life. Here's how I know it. This is my dad. I got to tell you this quickly. This is my dad and me. Goofiest picture ever. No idea why my team picked this. That's my dad and I. My dad's my favorite human being that's ever been here. Because he changed. See, if you really want to impress people, tell them how perfect you are. That's what most speakers would have come out here and done. But if you want to connect with people and you want to do this in recruiting, reveal to them your imperfections. Too many of you are trying to recruit like, we're making big money. You know what you can say? You know what? I'm struggling myself, but I'm going to get this going. I have insecurities myself. I don't know everything, but I'll get you the answers. I'll tell you the truth. We'll root for you. We'll believe in you. Show them your imperfections when you recruit people. You will connect with them more deeply. Tell them where you come from. Tell them what your fears are. Tell them your anxieties. I promise you I'm right. This is my dad and I at my sister's wedding, just to prove at one time we were both good-looking men. This is my dad, my papa, and me. I'm Edward Michael Joseph Mylett III. Papa there in the middle is Edward I. I want you to take note first of what my dad's wearing, which is his patented white golf shirt and glasses. My dad had no money. My dad played golf on my dime. Papa, on the other hand, was the man who believed in me when I was young. Did you have anybody when you were really young make you feel special, like you were the special one? Picture their face right now. A teacher, your mama, your daddy, a grandma, a coach. Prove them right, because they were right. If they've passed away, honor them with who you become. A week after this picture, Papa died. It's the last picture I ever took with him. Papa has a 4th grade education. You wouldn't be impressed with that. Let me tell you why he has a 4th grade education. This is where I come from. His dad died when he was in the 4th grade. You know how his dad died? In a gutter in South Boston in front of a bar. He drowned, drunk, passed out. That's what I come from. I went from that to here. You can go from where you are to anywhere you want to go. Papa, by the way, stormed the beaches of Normandy on D-Day. He's a stud. I remember when this happened, thinking, oh my gosh, Dad's in Papa's seat now, I'm in Dad's. Like that, like a flicker. You young people in here, I was once the young cool dude in the front row. Now I'm the old wise guy speaking. Like that. You know what your problem is? Listen to me. You think everybody else is going to die, not you. You know it's probably going to happen, but you don't really believe it's going to happen. So you're going to get around to winning. You're going to get around to making your dreams come true. You're going to get around to making memories. You're going to get around to giving your best. You're going to get around to getting closer to God. You're going to get around to making those things work. You're going to get around to being happy until you can't get around anymore. This is me and my dad golfing. My favorite thing to do in the world was to sit in a golf cart with my dad for 5 hours and be with my best friend. He knew everything about me. I knew everything about him. We didn't agree on a whole lot either. That day, my dad, who has the exact voice I have, a deep voice, that day went, thumbs up. I'm like, well, you need to go to a doctor Monday, man. He did. Tuesday, he had a 12-hour surgery to remove a tumor the size of a football that had been growing in him for 8 years that he didn't know about. And he was diagnosed with liposarcoma, very rare cancer. And when he got the cancer, I'll never forget, my dad said, hey, listen, I'll fight this thing once. I'm not shriveling up. I'm not getting all wrinkled, not losing my hair. I'll fight this once. If it doesn't happen, that's it, I'm out. That's not what happened. My dad had surgery, chemo, radiation, proton therapy, chemo, surgery, experimental chemo, over 8 years. And I would say, Dad, why are you putting yourself through this horrible suffering? And my dad said, Eddie, I'm not suffering. I am in pain, but I'm not suffering. Suffering's something we choose. He said, Eddie, remember this, please, so you don't have to get sick. You will only understand the power and the blessing of having one more day until you're threatened with never having one again. I'll do anything to have another day with your mama. I'll go to another chemo, another surgery, more pain to be with your mama. To me, to get to spend another day with you, we could no longer golf again. So I taught my dad all these visualizations of how to visualize he and I playing golf that I teach in my books. He said, for me to get to my granddaughter's wedding, to go see my grandson Jacob play another football game, I'll do anything for one more of those. They're so precious. That's my dad about 3 years into chemo. He wore his golf shirt and his glasses every day. He couldn't play. And he started to shrink and shrivel, and he lost his hair. And every time I would see my dad, I would know I'm losing my best friend, my father, my hero. I'm losing him. If your parents are still alive, even though that may not be happening, listen to me. You're losing them. I had the blessing of God showing me it physically. Your children are losing you. The world will lose you. This is a year later. I don't give this talk a lot anymore, and I don't like giving it because I don't like this picture. He's still wearing it. But I knew I was losing him. Thank God I knew, because I sure appreciated him more. I sure listened a little closer. I sure picked up the phone when he called and didn't put him to voicemail. I sure figured out what really mattered, which is not a jet. In fact, my jet was parked a mile from my dad's house. He could walk to it. You know how many times my dad ever flew on my jet? 0 in his life. I said, Dad, let's jump on the jet and go to Maui and play golf. He goes, why would I go all the way there? I can be with my son in Chino. We can play. My dad was unimpressed with my wealth, my houses, never told anybody about it. It was always in the golf cart. You helping people? You being good to Christiana? You making sure you're getting time with the kiddos? You calling your sisters? What kind of a man are you? What kind of money do you have? What kind of a man are you? Okay? This is my dad in the hospital. I got 4 minutes left. This is my dad in the hospital during COVID. First, take note of what he's wearing. My father would get up every day and shave and put his golf outfit on and visualize us playing golf. I would sit in the parking lot of Pomona Valley Hospital every day with my dad up because I couldn't go see him. I couldn't hug him, I couldn't touch him, and he was a couple hundred feet away. We would talk every day. This day, my dad called and said, hey. Sometimes my dad would breathe 5 times a minute, sometimes 25. Hey. What you doing? I said, I'm downstairs, just working on the podcast, some other stuff. I'm good, writing this chapter for the book. Okay. I said, how are you doing? He goes, I'm good. Okay, kiddo. Okay. We just played Pebble Beach. I said, we did? He goes, yeah. I said, how'd you play? He goes, lights out. I just played awesome. Shot 67. I finally birdied 18. It's awesome. I said, how'd I play? He goes, oh, like shit. I go, I gotta go. He goes, all right, I gotta get some lunch. 2 hours later, the phone rang. Hello? Hey, I go, what's going on? Yeah, I wasn't honest earlier. I said, what's up? I'm not doing so good. I said, okay. He goes, I want to go home. I go, Dad, you can't go home. You know that. No, take me home. I want to go home with Mom. I want to see you and your sisters tonight. I go, Dad, stop it. We're going to get you another steroid shot. You're crazy. He goes, listen to me. It's the power of one more. He goes, listen to me. I have one more day. What? Eddie, I have one more day. Please let me go home. My stomach sank. I said, I'm going to call the doctor. I called the doctor. I said, hey, he's talking crazy. He goes, I'd go get him, Ed. I'd send an ambulance. Take him home. I said, what? He goes, Eddie, they know. I said, who's they? He said, someone who's going to die. They know. This is 4 hours later. That's my dad coming home one more time. Walking through that front door one more time. In an ambulance. By the way, you're going to come home one more time someday. Your husband, your wife, your mom, your dad, you will someday come through that front door one more time. Who do you want to be when you come through that door? What do you want to accomplish, seen, felt, experienced, tried, done, contributed? Who do you want to be in that one more day? It's coming for you at some point. That's my mom right there. His high school sweetheart, his wife of 50 years, watching her husband come through the door one more time. The staircase to her right that you can see there is the staircase I would send her up when I sat at that front door as a little boy. That's the same front door of a man I was terrified of would come through. A totally different man came through that door 35 years later. You can come home a different person someday. You can totally change your life. I'm in this space. I'm giving this speech. I write my books. I do my show because I know human beings can change because I watched my father do it. Right left of that paramedic is the liquor cabinet that I used to try to get him to avoid through the hallway. Totally different man came home. Who do you want to be? This is my father with one more hour left, and I'm holding his hand. He's still wearing the same clothes. My father refused to take morphine for the excruciating pain because it would violate his sobriety. About 20 minutes after this, I'm holding his hand. My dad goes, I'm so proud of you. I can't believe God gave you to me as my only son. I love you. And he closed his eyes. I've never said this, but I feel family here, so I'm going to tell you something. I got into the bed with my dad. And I held my dad like he held me when I was a little boy. One of the most beautiful moments of my life. Got to hold my dad. This man I was terrified of. And it made me think, who do I want to be in this moment when my children are gathered around me? What do I want them to know about me? Who I became, what I did, who their dad was. Who's Christiana going to think her husband was? My sisters. Who do I want to be when I've got one more hour left? And about 20 minutes later, he took one more breath, and he was gone. And his temporary pain was over. And I was a different version of me because of his pain. See, the other thing that's going to happen is if you'll survive the temporary pain is it will change the people around you a little better. And my dad did that.
I know in your book, you talk about slowing down time, which if we could slow down time, right? Let's talk about baseball. Imagine if you could slow down time. Yep. Even I could bat, like you were leading the nation in average. I could be better than Ed Mylett if I could slow down time and slow that 95-mile-an-hour fastball down. How do you slow down time?
Well, that's the best question. It's chapter 2. It's called The Matrix. And the best do exactly what you just said. Tom Brady has the ability to slow things down under duress and pressure. I have another chapter called equanimity, one more level of equanimity. The athletes that get rattled, things speed up. I watched Michael Chandler fight this weekend, and Michael's been in some really intense fights a couple times. He's a good friend of both of ours. And sometimes under the duress in these fights, things have sped up for him, and it's not served him well. This fight, I watched him step back, get equanimity, and slow things down. And he executed one of the most dramatic knockouts ever. How do you do it? There's a thing in your brain called the reticular activating system. It's the filter that reveals the entire world to you of what's important to you. So I just bought a Tesla, for example. I just like what Musk is doing. I told my team, get me one of these Tesla plaids. Next day, it's in my driveway. And now, David, everywhere I go, there's Teslas everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. In front of me to the right, 3 lanes over, other side of the freeway. I'm like, babe, another white Tesla. Here's the thing. They were always there, but they've become important to me. So my RAS now filters them into my awareness. You begin to see, feel, and hear things that were always around you, that were not a part of your awareness and your filter. So the key thing to slow things down, Tom Brady, when he's pre-snap, he slows things down. His RAS finds the coverage and the open receiver. The rookie quarterback finds the covered guy. So the difference in life is, can you make your dreams, your goals, the meetings, those relationships, those thoughts, your Teslas? And the way you do it is by repeatedly reprogramming your reticular activating system in your brain. And I go very detailed on doing it. And the other reason I love the Matrix as an analogy is that Neo is the one. They call him the one. And in every family, the one eventually shows up. In your family, you're it, Dave. In mine, I'm the one. Meaning, you find a rich and successful family. If you go back in their lineage somewhere, they weren't. And then the one shows up. The one that changes everything for that family, that cares for their mom like you do, right? That just changes everything, how they live, how the world treats them, how they think, their emotions. The one shows up. So Neo in the Matrix is the one. I teach you how to be the one in your family by using your RAS to slow things down so you see, hear, and feel things that were always there that can change your life.
And one of the other things that you do really well is utilize that time. So not only can we slow down time, but utilize the time productively with accessibility. When I say accessibility, people would be amazed how accessible Ed Mylett is. You know, I've always found it interesting that Mark Cuban, Ed Mylett, Jack Canfield, Bob Proctor would always immediately text me back or email me back. Yeah. And yet everyone perceives them differently. So accessibility is not only accessing what you want, but it's accessible to others to give of yourself and be of service. And then also this lens of gratitude intertwined in productivity and accessibility, meaning there's a nuance in your book that when we look at being grateful, finding the light, the love, and the lessons, having faith in everything, we have to integrate time. Is it worth my time to spend with Ed Mylett over Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Which one's going to feed me more, or whoever or whatever we're doing? And so many people don't reconcile time into the productivity, accessibility, and gratitude lenses of our activities during the day. How do you, because I know you talk about 21 days in a week. I talk about the power of 64 hours of productivity a day. 60, I get 60, so 8 times 7, 56 days a week. You're only at 21, brother. I can start mentoring you. But more importantly, how do you do that? Because we can beat people with time in a quantitative sense.
Well, it's one of the most important chapters in The Power of One More. Here's the deal. The 24-hour day is the most archaic, antiquated, ridiculous concept that is currently existing in mankind. My second day is noon to 6 p.m. And in that same thing, I want to get as much productivity, contacts, calls, fitness, faith, whatever it is in that day. Third day is from 6 p.m. to midnight. And some days, these are just chill days, right? Some days are just family days. But the point is, what happens now is because I've shrunk and compressed time frames, at the top of every day, like around noon every day, this alarm clock goes off and says, hey, what did I get done the last day? What do I need to redouble? What do I need to be accountable for? What did I miss? So instead of, average person once a year checks off with themselves, New Year's resolutions. Really productive people, maybe they do it once a month or at the end of the week. Some people end of their 24-hour day. All right, what do I have to do tomorrow? But I'm now doing it 3 times in a normal day. So 2 things happen. Number 1, I get 21 days a week. I get way more productivity. And these are real days too. You can actually get a full day's work done in them. But the other thing that's important about it is other people begin to respond to you differently. Because now Time is precious. That's why diamonds are more valuable than paper, right? What's rare is precious. The more rare your time is, the more precious it is, the more other people respond to you in a particular way. So it's one of the most important, I would say single-handedly, there's maybe 5 things in the book that are all really detailed. I don't know where they rank, but this is on there somewhere where I completely changed my perception of what a day looks like. And then the last thing is this. In life, you don't always get your goals. You don't. People say, I want more self-confidence. Everybody knows. Keep the promises you make to yourself. You'll probably get more self-confidence, because self-confidence is a relationship and reputation with yourself. And if you can keep the promises you make to you, you're going to be a pretty productive person. But what if you had a higher standard? There's a chapter called One More Higher Standard. You always get your standards. You don't always get your goals. But if your standard is I always do one more, I always do one more. Now I keep the promises I make to myself and one more. I'm going to tell my daughter I love her every day. And one more time. I'm going to do 10 reps on the bench and one more. I'm going to make 10 contacts and one more. I'm going to text message 5 friends, tell them I love them and care about them today, and one more. Now you've changed your life, the way you manipulate time, because your standard is different for how you conduct yourself.
And you've elevated that standard, which has an energetic aspect to it. We have a frequency that also gets into that reticular side of things, where things become, or you become aware of them by what we think, say, do, believe, and feel. Those 5 different levels. It gives us a deeper purpose. And you and I are both extremely faith-based people. And through that aspect of faith, we integrate energy and quantum science, the mathematical side of things. How does your purpose and faith that is integrated together relate to energy and quantum science, the quantitative side of the world?
No one's asked me that. So that was the hardest chapter for me, brother. One more prayer, because I wanted to talk about my faith, because I'm a faith-based person, but I also didn't want to put off people who didn't share my faith. And because I'm also science and quantum based. I believe there's a quantum field. In fact, I don't believe it. I know it. I just happen to believe there's an almighty creator that created it. That's all. I don't know why that's in conflict with people. And so, right. So there's this whole notion that, well, if you're faith-based, you're not scientific or energy. And if you're energy-based, you're not faith-based. You and I know tons of pastors and rabbis that are very energy-based people that are also dogmatic in their faith. And so why do I love you so much? Because we vibrated a similar frequency. And so there's a connection there. We've all felt energy before. We've all been able to vibrate at a frequency where there become answers to things that really we're not capable of answering on our own. And so for me, I know I feel energy. The key thing for most people is that if you don't believe in energy, you don't really believe in influence. You don't believe in inspiration. You don't believe in connection. You're always making people feel something. You're always emanating an energy. You ought to start to take control of what that is and be intentional about it and work at it, because that is energy is influence. Energy is love. Energy is emotion. And so every part of my
money. Don't forget money.
Everything is. And so it all has an energy frequency, a vibrational frequency. And so although I'm extremely faith-based, I'm a Christian. You and I have sat around and talked about these things many, many times. I'm blown away by the fact that that people would think, well, I would deny the fact that there's quantum energy in the world. That's like denying that there's gravity. I just happen to think that the gravity and nature and oxygen, the way it relates with animals and all that stuff, came from one place. But having said that, I'm very much, some of my dearest friends are the people that are the best in the world at it, like Dr. Joe Dispenza. So, and yourself and others whom I admire greatly. So I'm super energy based. I'm super quantum based. And I can tell you that I believe even this podcast has a particular energy frequency to it that people will respond to different than other ones, because there's 2 dudes that vibrate a particular way, spending some time together.
You know what's so amazing is we grew up similar in so many respects, but also differently in our faiths. And yet we ended up in the same place as faith. And one time when we first met, you had a statement and you said, God is good. And it wasn't just you were saying it. I almost cried when you said it. And I thought to myself, 20 years ago, if I met Ed Mylett because I was at a different frequency, I would have had judgments and conditions that separated a brother of mine, someone that I'm so connected to and through inspirationally, energetically. And I would have let those 3 words, which I state every day as many times as I can today and believe full-heartedly, despite my background, which is different than yours religiously in the dramatic sense. And no one in the world do I think I share beliefs with as much as I do Ed Mylett. And I hope he takes that as a compliment. And I study very hard to understand that. Why do you think people resist that defining moment for me in faith that, look, there's something bigger than us that loves us more than our mom loves us. And that gives me the faith to be protected and promoted at all times. And everything I look upon, I say to myself, God is good. And I don't want to separate myself from anyone when I say that, but I know that there's listeners right now going, I didn't know Dave Meltzer was a Jesus freak. You know, I know they're saying it, Ed. I know they're saying it. I know my rabbi brother's saying, oh my God, did he not learn anything? But I believe God is good, and so do you. And that's what has blessed me to be where I am today with you on this podcast.
Yeah, brother, I love you. I think that it's resisted because the truth is that religion has gotten in the way for a lot of people getting to know God. And religion's done a lot of negative things in life. It's done a lot of positive things too, but organized religion, I think even some of my most devout pastor friends would say, hey, it's bumped up on doing some stuff. There's been a lot of wars over religion. Right? There's been a lot of judgment over religion. And I guess I'm religious in the sense that I'm a Christian, but I'm not a religious person in the sense that I subscribe to a particular dogmatic church. And so I think that's what the gap is. I think, and by the way, I think it's a reasonable assessment of people over time. I know something you don't know. I'm right, you're wrong. Right. And that's not something God would ever say. That's not something that's true. And so what I have is a relationship with God, which means it ebbs and flows. When my dad died, I wasn't happy with God. Right. When my dad got cancer, I'm like, what's going on here, man? What are we doing? Right. So it's okay to question one's faith. In fact, if you don't, someone that never questions their faith will never grow in it. And so I just think the answers to life lie there. And I would just tell everybody to embrace your version of what God is. And the more you explore that in your heart, I think the more, by the way, any of you listening to this, here's what I do know about you. You wonder. It's a calling that's been on your heart since you were a little boy or a little girl. You've always wanted to know. You always wanted to explore that. In fact, it's always going on in the back of your mind. What's true? What's life all about? What happens when I die? Right? Most importantly is what happens when I live. And so I think these questions are beautiful, and I don't think you should avoid them. And I think you should be open to whatever inspiration and answers you get and not use the judgment of other human beings or dogmatic religion from people to cause you to be suppressed in your pursuit of it, because it's a beautiful pursuit. It's what life's all about. And you will find more bliss and happiness as you find your version of those answers.
And that beautiful pursuit in this idea of one more takes that faith, that understanding. And you've really helped me understand what is the paradox or the paradigm of my life, that I don't need to go get more healthy, more wealthy, more happy, more worthy. Because of my faith, I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. I just got to figure out what I'm doing to interfere with it. And the concept of one more, to me, is clearing the interference. It is clearing the interference, because every time we say, I'm going to call my daughter, I have minimums in my life. I'm going to call her one more time or one more minute, which isn't easy with teenage girls, but I'm going to do it, even if I feel rejection at times. But it's never too late to have this one more philosophy of clearing the interference of our potential. And everyone has different potentials. How come so many people think, well, it's too late?
Yep, because they're carrying around baggage of the things they're ashamed of, the things they failed at. They think they're defeats. They think they're invisible. They think they're not qualified. They're not special. You don't know about the things I'm embarrassed by. You don't know about my bankruptcy, my divorce, my financial setback, this sin I've had. And we carry those things around with us. And so we think that somehow that disqualifies us from helping other people and living our best life. In fact, the opposite is actually true. I got to tell you something, bro. I haven't told you this yet. So I wrote this book, The Power of One More, basically when my dad died and all the lessons in it. About 2 weeks ago, I woke up about 3:15 in the morning crying. This is just for me and you, but everybody gets to listen. And it answers your question perfectly. And I woke up and I woke Christiane up. I said, babe. And she goes, yeah, because what changed my family life forever is my dad got sober. That one decision changed our family. I'm not talking to you right now if my dad doesn't do that. I don't help millions of people unless my dad makes that one decision. And I said, babe. She goes, what? I said, someone helped daddy. She said, what, honey? I said, someone helped my dad. And I've never thought about it before. Someone helped my dad get sober. She goes, oh my God. I said, I don't know who they are. That family, by helping my dad, changed millions of other people's lives. And Max and Bella's lives, my children, are deeply affected by this precious soul helping my dad in some quiet place, in some room somewhere that no one will ever know about. And I said, here's what's amazing, babe. Do you know what qualified that person to help my dad? Their messed up life. They were a drunk and an alcoholic. All their mistakes, all the things they were ashamed of, all their life experience. That's what qualified them to change my dad's life and change my life and change millions of other, whoever this person is. It's some quiet coffee shop somewhere or a room somewhere. They saved my family. Little did they know all those years they were drinking and using drugs was preparing them to change the world. And it just occurred to me 2 weeks ago. So if you're listening to this, your mistakes, your setbacks, your experience, your failures, your sins are the very thing. That mess is your message. It's the very thing that qualifies you with your intent to serve, your giftedness and your experience to make a difference in the world and live greatly. And there's no better example of that than whoever this precious soul is that changed my family and millions of families forever because they were an alcoholic at some point in their life.
And there's great significance to that in our lives. You know, one of the things that I can't still fathom is the size, scope, and scale of how what I call the protection and promotion in my life, the mistakes, failures, setbacks, and sins, as I see them as a hot stove that as a 3-year-old, I try to reach out to. And of course, my mom slapped my hand and she's never really hit anyone and screamed at me and she screams at very few. And I immediately said, why am I being punished? Because I didn't understand the stove was going to burn me. And, you know, here with faith, whatever your dogmatic beliefs are, with faith, there's something bigger than us that loves us more than my mom loved me at that moment to protect me. There is no punishment. That person that saved your father and saved his legacy and saved his family and now has saved millions around the world because it has given you the opportunity to be saved from yourself, from the lessons and the love and the light that has always existed through you to others. But I get choked up fathom when we have a young kid that begs me, hey, Mr. Meltzer, there's only 2 podcasts in the world I listen to, Ed Mylett and you, and can I please meet him? He has changed my life. I come from the Bronx and his family, and and I've got a college education. I'm inspired to do great things, to be kind to my future self, and to do good deeds in the world, to touch other people exponentially, brother, right? Exponentially, it doubles. Yeah. And I see you doubling the thousands and then millions of people that are going to sit there someday and say, thank you, Ed Mylett, or thank you, whatever the name of those guys were on their podcast together, that somehow planted a seed or watered a seed that changed an entire legacy. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with the importance of the ability to touch that many lives?
First, I love you. You're special. You're the special one of all this stuff I've been doing. And I know you know that I feel that way. I don't know why I'm going to get emotional too. It's just first off, a step back. It's pretty cool that 2 rich guys are talking about this stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's very few profound conversations, and you and I've had several of them now, and I'm glad this one's being recorded. I just deal with it like this. I don't think God calls qualified people. I think he qualifies called people. And I just feel like I'm called to do this. And one of the things I talk about in the book is like, how do you change your identity and your self-confidence? And I say, well, there's a trilogy: faith, intention, and associations. But the second one's a biggie. How do I deal with it? Because I don't have every answer. I do make mistakes. I'd like my life to be as smooth and as beautiful and as elegant as it sounds like in an interview, but it's not. There's mistakes I make all the time. But I know this about me. When I was a very young man, I know you know this story. Well, not that young compared to a lot of people listening. I was 30 years old. I won an incentive trip to go to Hawaii. And I'm running down the beach in the morning before the sun got up. And this man's running towards me. And he gets closer and closer and closer. And I realize it's Wayne Dyer. And those of you young bucks, if you don't know who Wayne Dyer is, Google him. But Dave definitely knows who he is. And I said, I was running with a Sony Walkman on. Sony Walkman. And I go, Dr. Dyer, you changed my life. And he lifted off his Walkman after he had ran by me and goes, I doubt that. I bet you changed your life. But he goes, how did I help you? And he walked towards me and we sat on the beach together and watched the sun come up. Can you imagine? And at that time, he was writing a book called The Power of Intention. And here's what he said to me, and I'll impart this wisdom on to everybody else on this topic. He said to me, Ed, you're going to change the world. And I'm sure he had said that to other people, but for me in that moment, I felt like I was the only person. He goes, and there's a spirit about you. God gave you this voice and he gave you this ability to communicate. You're brilliant. And my hero's saying this to me. And he goes, and none of that's why you're going to change the world. You're going to change the world because you intend to do well. You intend to serve. You intend to contribute. He said, I sense beautiful intentions on you, Edward. And I knew that was true of me. I've never believed I was talented or smart. I've never believed I was special, but I do know my heart. I do know I intend to help people. And he goes, the rest of your life, never link your confidence to your ability to do something. Link it to your intention to serve. And I've never forgotten that. That makes me emotional because I'm not the most talented guy in the world. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the biggest, the fastest, the strongest, the blah, blah, blah. I'm none of those things, but I do have a pretty good heart. I do intend to serve people. And so before I do a podcast like this, before I give a speech, before I do any business meeting, I do remind myself of my intent, and I have tremendous confidence in my intentions. And I would tell everybody out there, maybe you should take a page out of that book. Maybe you should read that chapter in my book too. But your intention to contribute, to have a pure heart, to serve people, to make a difference is where your confidence should come from. Because you'll find whether it's your God or the energy field or a combination of both, the answers will come your way. The answers, you will find the people, places, and things that you need that are requisite to you delivering on this intention you have. But it starts with the intent. And that's how I carry that, not burden, but honor and privilege of some people wanting to hear what we have to say is that I know I intend to help. And usually the Spirit helps me move them in the right way.
I mean, you're at a stage right now, 51. You're going into the 50s decade. You've accomplished so much. You've made so much. You've got the homes, the plane. I've been to a lot of your homes. I've been in a plane of yours. I've seen the lifestyle. It's an amazing lifestyle that you've created for yourself. You had nothing. You had a vision in your mind, and then you got yourself to that vision.
Yeah.
What excites you for this next decade? What are you thinking about now that you have everything externally, let's say? I'm sure you want to create more and build more, but what is the main mission for the next 9 years of this decade? I
want people, brother, I'm so glad you said this. I believe all this stuff's connected. I'm not like this as a Zen entrepreneur, but sometimes I come across that way. I believe entrepreneurs and business people in general are the change agents in the world. I don't believe it's going to come from a political movement. I believe that entrepreneurs, like ourselves, are the people that are going to change the world. And I believe the planet's at a tipping point. And I think that we're trending in a direction where so many people feel invisible. So many people feel that they lack something. There's a lack of kindness and gentleness and love, particularly expressed by business people. Business people in general the last 30 years have contributed to this in a major way. The brutal nature of business, the cutthroat nature of it. And I think the next 10 years that entrepreneurs, hopefully people like myself that are in the thought leader space, can begin to show people that entrepreneurs are the ones who can bring the most love and change and solutions to people's lives. And for me, because I do have this platform, I want everyone to feel seen. I want people to know you do matter. That person, that alcoholic and drug addict that helped my dad mattered big time. Yeah. And you matter. And we need more people to come to you and say, you matter, and here's the actual reasons why you matter. It's not just a saying, you matter because of this. Yeah. And I want to give people the tools and the resources to do it. I really would love to think that when I'm done, that all of us collectively have turned the corner on this way we treat one another in the world. Yeah. Concerns me so deeply, man, that my experience every single day with most people is that we have a lot in common and that we really do want to love and care for one another. And that sometimes success gets in the way of that. The financial pursuit gets in the way of it. Some of these thought leader entrepreneurs that are so aggressive about money. And I don't mind that because I think that money can do a lot of good, but I believe there's a more beautiful and elegant way to get there. I don't think business has to be brutal. I think that there's an elegant and beautiful way to create wealth in your life and bliss that's there's not a lot of examples of, and I intend to be one of those examples.
Yeah. And for those that want to become more entrepreneurial, but maybe have that fear of believing in themselves, would you say there's a shift in the mindset between scarcity and abundance when it comes to money? Like, do you remember a time when you didn't have any?
Yes.
And then it started to shift and it started to really roll? Was there like a shift in the mindset or what?
Yeah, I was raised thinking that wealthy people got their money kind of through some ill-gotten means. And that, that maybe it had to be a little bit cutting corners or shady or something to get money.
Some illegal stuff or whatever,
Yeah, just, maybe just hurt people to get it. Is what I thought. And so, when I started to make some money, Christiana and I, when we were kids, we actually live on the actual beach I used to walk on with my wife when we were in high school. I know, isn't that crazy? In Laguna. And I would say, babe, I'm gonna get you one of these houses someday. And she goes, you will? I go, yeah. How? I don't know yet, but I'm gonna get you one of these houses. And I would ask my dad, I go, Dad, who are these people that live in these ocean? Who are they? They're like Martians?
On a cliff over the ocean.
Who are they? My dad would go, I don't know, but man, I wonder how they got there. I don't know. And then what I would do is I'd go touch my dream once in a while. So like on a weekend, I'm a big believer.
I love you do this.
You move towards what you're most familiar with, right? So I would go, hey babe, let's go. If I make 12 sales this month or XYZ, we're gonna do one night at the Ritz-Carlton in Laguna Beach in Dana Point. And we'd go down there and get the valet and I'd give the dude my keys and feel like a big shot. I had like $5 to tip him, And then we'd check into the hotel and she'd go get a massage and I'd go play golf. Then we'd hang out at the pool and have a nice bottle of wine at just one night. Every 60 days, touch it, and then go back. Then we do it again, then we do it again, then we do it again. All of a sudden, I became familiar.
You do it every week.
Your mind starts to become familiar with this dream, right? And then I'd meet the people that were there. And I was like, these are actually pretty nice people. But a lot of them are very kind. Many of them are very charitable. Not all of them. But you know what? Not all of the broke people I know are very kind. In fact, these are just human beings that have solved people's problems, that are willing to take risks, that are willing to dream. And so the more familiar I became with my dream and the people associated with them, the more I became comfortable, and the more I thought I belonged there. Over time, you begin to believe you belong in your dreams when you touch them periodically. And so for me, it just was this periodic shift of, actually, a lot of them have helped people.
Yeah, that's cool.
A lot of them make a difference. And you know that as well. You've interviewed some of the richest people in the world, and not all of them are great people.
Yeah.
But about the same percentage that are broke are good people that are rich are good people.
What's the one skill you would like to develop in the next 9 years?
I'd like to develop the skill of more presence, and I want my meditation abilities to expand. I'm a pretty good meditator, but I think there's another level I could get to of emptying my mind more regularly. I would like to be able to do that. I would like to have the skill of being more comfortable in public environments. I'm good in them, but a lot of people can relate to this. I'm very drained when it's over.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah. And I'd like to be charged up by being around people more than I am drained by it. And it's not that I don't love them, I do, but there's an element of me that's working at it, and it's because my love for people is off the charts. I know you can relate to this.
You have so much energy when you're on stage. You bring, all of it.
All of it. Yeah. So do you, right? Yeah. You know what that's like. And so I'd like to have that ability to enjoy that more. And I think probably the pathway to doing it, though, is my meditation. And that's powerful. For me, it's just, I want to grow that part of my life and that muscle.
That's powerful, man. I'm so excited about this book. I got to dive into some of it. I want to get to the rest of it, though.
Thank you.
But The Power of One More, The Ultimate Guide to Happiness and Success. I can't recommend enough to buy a few copies of this, give it to your friends, do a book club, and share this out on social media. The Power of One More. It's going to be a very inspiring book for you. It's going to help you transform the way you think, your emotions, your actions. So make sure you guys get a few copies of this book, and make sure to support Ed. Follow you on social media. You've got an amazing podcast. I had a great time when I was on there. You have some incredible people, and you ask amazing questions as well. So make sure you check out your show. Social media, you're mostly on Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah.
You on any other places you like to
I'm on Twitter and Facebook and all that, but my podcast is on all the platforms too, all the audio platforms.
Yeah. But Mylett.com is where they should get the book?
Yeah, you can get your book anywhere. Go anywhere books are sold, and if you go to thepowerofonemore.com, there's great tools on there that'll help you with the book, enhance the experience of the book. And it's a heavy book, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of tactics and strategies in there. So if you want to read a heavy book that'll really help you, it does not lack for detail.
I love this, man. How else can we be of service to you?
Oh, brother, I want to see you keep changing the world. I want you to continue to grow. I'm so proud of you. I love you. You're the future.
Thanks, man.
And I mean, you know, I told you I got in here today. I just watching you shine makes me so happy.
Thanks, man.
And I just want you to be enjoying and loving your life. And the way that everybody can help me is just be kinder to people and be kinder to yourself.
Yes.
And really, really begin to operate out of your dreams and your imagination. If you're a praying person, those dreams and your imagination are a form of prayer, and they can be answered.
Absolutely. This is a question I've asked you before. It's called the 3 truths. So imagine it's your last day on earth many years away. You get to accomplish everything. You're the best meditator in the world now. You're more present, loving, all these things. You know, you've accomplished everything, and you've been the man you want to be.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, it's the last day, and this could be any time in the future. And you can't leave behind the wisdom that you've shared. The books, the podcasts, the videos, it's all gone for whatever reason, hypothetical. But you have 3 things you can leave behind, 3 lessons to the world. This is all we would have of your wisdom. What would those 3 truths be for you?
1, there's a God in heaven who loves you, that made you in your image and likeness, in his image and likeness. So there's a God in heaven. 2, you were born to do something great with your life in big ways and small ways. Just like that person who helped my dad, they thought that was a small thing. It may not be on Instagram, it may not get 20 million likes or views, but you were born to do something great. I'm gonna say that to you again. You were born to do something great with your life. You are not average and ordinary. And the 3rd thing is this: there's a power to doing one more. And if you'll do one more, your one decision, one relationship, one meeting, one encounter, one thought, one podcast interview, one book, away from a completely different life. You don't lack vision. You lack depth perception. You think you're further than you are, and you keep keeping it in that distance because you think it's so far away. You're one more away. I'll give you the last example of it. Played golf 2 weeks ago with this dude. Everyone says, you got to meet this dude. He's similar net worth. I show up to the first tee. He goes, man, Ed Mylett, big fan. I can't wait to spend the next 5 hours talking about you. I go, that ain't how it's going to work, bro. I already know about me. I want to know about you. And he goes, well, I can tell you the whole thing on the first tee. I go, give it to me. You got to hear this, Lewis. He goes, 1986, I loaned a guy 50 grand. So did my best friend. I said, you both loaned him 50 grand? He goes, yep. He goes, a week later, my friend got cold feet, asked for the money back. I kept the loan. It turned into $750 million.
Holy cow.
I said, come again? He goes, 750. I said, who'd you loan that money to? Jeff Bezos.
Oh, he did not.
I said, come on, man, are you serious? He goes, yeah. I go, man, you really were one decision away, one relationship away from totally changing your life. He goes, yeah. Now that's an extreme example. I don't have one of those, but I'm a series of those one mores in your life, and so is everybody listening to this. So you're one away, one relationship, one meeting, one person, one thought away from changing your life.
That's a good story.
I know.